everybody, Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I'm bringing you a budget deck. Yes, I know this is a long time coming, centered around Poliwrath from Evolutions, and before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. It helps us out a lot and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, I know it has been a long time since I've done a truly budget deck, and this is the first one in... Well, this is the first one I've done. I think this is the first truly budget deck I have done on the channel. But I guess that really comes down to what your definition of budget is, and that is where my question of the day comes from. How do you guys define a budget deck? I have looked around and I've seen people that have budget decks with no EXs. I've seen budget decks where people have like one EX or a couple EXs. And I guess my question of the day is, what do you guys define as a budget deck? AKA, do you think that EXs can be in a budget deck? And if so, where do you draw the line of EXs no longer be considered budget? And this question really comes from the fact that if you do include EXs, like, don't get me wrong, there are some EXs that you can get for less packs than like a rare. Like, I'm sure the stand-in Zoroark is worth more than, say, like, I don't know, like a Steelix from Steam. Actually, that's probably wrong. But either way, there are some rares that are worth more than some EXs. So I can see why people could include EXs in their definition of budget decks. I think that's kind of a slippery slope, because if you include EXs in budget decks, then where do you really draw the line of an EX being too expensive? And eventually it's like, well, Shaman's not that expensive, we can include it in a budget deck. So really, I just want to know, what do you guys define as a budget deck, and where do you draw the line if you think EXs should be included in a budget deck? Now, this deck that I'm showing you right here includes no EXs at all. That is, I guess that's really my definition of a budget deck. And then there's also a version of this deck with Manaphy EX, if you consider a budget deck to have Manaphy, to be able to have Manaphy in it. And I'm going to show you that version after I get done going through the deck list of this one. But yeah, this deck is centered around Poliwrath from Evolutions, like I said, with 140 HP, so actually pretty bulky. With the Dashing Punch attack, if this Pokemon was on the bench and became your active Pokemon this turn, this attack does 50 more damage. So with a base of 50 already, I mean, 50 for 1 isn't bad. I mean, it's nothing that you'd make a deck around, but 50 for 1 is not bad. The fact that if this Pokemon was on your bench and became active, it can do 100 for 1, well, that's pretty darn good, and is what we are centering this deck around. I mean, don't get me wrong, Whirlpool is a very good attack, 80 damage, and then you can discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. I mean, 3 energy is not really that great. Actually, 3 specific energy for 80 damage is pretty awful. But if you run a deck centered around energy disruption, then Whirlpool can be really cool, and especially in conjunction with Dashing Punch. However, in this deck, we are using Dashing Punch because of that 100 damage. So, yep, that's what this deck is centered around, mainly this guy. And so, the big problem is, okay, how do we get a Poliwhirl to the bench and then back active in the same turn? I mean, with the Manaphy deck, you can run Manaphy, and then if you have another Poliwrath on the bench, you can just switch the two and then have the other Dashing Punch. Because, I mean, Poliwrath has 2 retreat cost, which isn't horrible, but is still not really what you want. So having that free retreat with Manaphy really works well if you have 2 Poliwrath out. However, in this deck, I am combining it with Zoroark and the stand-in ability. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may switch this Pokemon with your active Pokemon. So if you have Poliwrath active, stand in with Zoroark, retreat back into Poliwrath, and then Dashing Punch again for 100. So that is really just the whole strategy of this deck. Running 2-2 of Zorua and Zoroark. Yes, you can attack with Zoroark, but we're not really running enough energy to where that's practical. So running 2 Zorua, Zoroark, and then 4-2-4 of Poliwag, Poliwhirl, and Poliwrath. Just main attacker and all that. And then we have 2-2 of Remoraid and Octillery as our draw support. Because, I mean, you need draw support in this type of deck, and I don't want to run like 4 Unknown. I'd rather just have the consistency of Remoraid and Octillery, so that's what we were going for. Yes, I know that this deck idea gets shut down by things like Garbodor and Fright Knight Yveltal and stuff like that, but I mean, this is a budget deck. You can't expect it to be able to be a top tier deck that counters everything in the game. I mean, this deck is still very, very effective and can get you wins as a very cheap budget deck. So just bear with me on this. I know that it loses to a lot of very common things in the metagame, but that's unfortunately what you have to deal with certain budget decks. As for the items, running 3 level ball because all but Zoroark and Poliwrath we are able to grab with level ball, and you don't have to discard anything in the process of doing so, so that's why we're running a pretty heavy count of those. And then only 3 ultra ball. Ultra ball just gets you anything you need, but you also have to discard 2 cards, so that's why we're running the line that we are. That's just my opinion. I encourage you guys to try this deck out for yourself and determine whether or not you want to use more ultra ball, less ultra ball, more level ball, less level ball, etc., etc. And then I'm also not using dive ball in this deck just because those cannot get out the Zorua and Zoroark, both of whom are incredibly important to this strategy, so that's why there's no dive ball in just these 2. However, there are dive ball in the Manaphy deck, but again, I will show you that after I'm done going through this deck list. We are also running 2 max potion. You might be running, why the heck are you you might be wondering why the heck are you running max potion? Wow, I'm slurring my words so badly today. I apologize. I have not been drinking at all, even though I am 22. I have not been drinking. It's just in the morning and I'm recording, so that's why. But either way, running 2 max potion because Poliwrath, while it's not the bulkiest thing in the world, 140 HP is still very solid, and the fact that we're attacking for 1 energy is even better. So if Poliwrath has like 120 damage on it, max potion that baby up, slap an energy back down onto it, and then dashing punch again. So it's just a very good combination. Give Poliwrath a little bit more longevity. Then we are running 3 rare candy. That's kind of a heavy line of rare candy, but we want to be attacking turn 2. I mean, if you're not attacking turn 2, then you're kind of in trouble. I mean, this deck is slow enough to begin with, relying on a stage 2 and then a couple stage 1s, to where, I mean, it's kind of clunky to get set up and you have to buy time. Rare candy is one of those ways where you can speed up the process of getting a Poliwrath and then just go from there. So rare candy, that's why we're running such a heavy line. I like to run 1 more rare candy or stage 2 than I have stage 1 than I have stage 2. So as you can see, I'm running 3 rare candy and 2 Poliwhirl. I like to run 1 more than I do the stage 2 just because it gives me more options to evolve and not be stuck if one of them is prized. I'm also running 1 Super Ride to get some stuff back in the deck if we overextend ourselves, or if we have to discard too much with like Sycamore or Ultra Ball or something like that. 1 Switch because even though we have the Zoroark, we still want Switch in case something gets brought up early and we don't quite have a Zoroark and a Floatstone yet. So running 1 Switch just as kind of a tech. 4 Trainer's Mail to help with consistency. 3 Ultra Ball, like I said before, just to guaranteed get whatever we need. 4 VS Seeker to reuse all of our supporters, and as for the supporters, I'm running a 3-2 of Sycamore and N. Normally I'm running 4-2, and I'm trying to lean more towards 2 Lysander just because, like I said, that's what all the top decks are doing. So I'm trying to lean more towards that to make all of my decks a little bit more competitively viable and match what competitive decks are doing. 1 Pokemon Ranger just so we don't get auto destroyed by Glaceon and stuff like that. And then I am also running 1 Giovanni Scheme. I replaced 1 Sycamore with Giovanni Scheme because Giovanni Scheme can technically act as a supporter, as you can draw until you have 5 cards in your hand, but you really don't want to be using that for it unless you absolutely have to. What we're using Giovanni Scheme for is the 20 extra damage because it allows Poliwrath to be able to knock out like 110, 120 HP Pokemon. Specifically Shaman, although you kind of have to have Lysander and Poliwrath in the same turn in order to be able to knock out a Shaman, or Lysander and Giovanni's in the same turn, excuse me, to be able to knock out a Shaman. So it's not really that practical. It's just the 20 damage can help quite a bit in certain situations, so that's why I threw a Giovanni Scheme in there. If you do not think that is necessary, go ahead and remove it. That's just my opinion, and I wanted to give you options. Running 3 Rough Seas, again, to give Poliwrath more longevity, 2 Floatstone for our Zorua and Zoroark, and then 7 of the regular water energy to be able to attack with Poliwrath. And now, I mean, that is that deck without any EXs. If you guys like to include EXs in your budget decks, then here is a list that includes Manaphy. As you can see, I've gotten rid of the Zoroark and Zorua line completely. Really, the only thing that I have changed is, well, got rid of 4 of those guys. I added another Poliwhirl, added Escape Rope, and got rid of 1 Floatstone just because Manaphy gives you all the free retreat you need. And then also, I mean, even though I added a Poliwhirl, I'm still keeping the 3 rare candy just to give me as many options as possible. And then 4 Dive Ball, got rid of all the Ultra Balls that I could, because everything in this deck can be brought out with Dive Ball, because, I mean, everything's a Water-type Pokemon. So, I mean, that's why don't need Ultra Ball at all, because Dive Ball gets us everything we need. And yeah, I've been rambling for way too long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a match with each of these decks. I'm going to start off with the Manaphy and then do the Zoroark deck. So yeah, done rambling. Let's just go ahead and see these decks in action. Alrighty, we have found one, and if you guys skipped over the rest of the deck building, what I said right at the end was I'm going to do 2 matches with this deck, or try to get 2 good ones. One with the Manaphy version of this deck, which I am using right now, and then one with the Zoroark version, which I'm going to use second. And my opponent lets me go first with a Fire and Normal deck, so that's telling me that this is more than likely a Talonflame deck, and he wants to be able to Aero Blitz turn 1, which, I mean, I can't blame him at all. Talonflame is definitely a very cool deck that I want to try out, and can potentially be a budget deck again if you guys include breaks in your budget as well. But start with a Remoraid. Not the greatest thing in the world. I mean, it's not horrible because I have Switch, I have Water Energy. I really don't need to worry about my attachments, because all I need is a single turn of attachment to be able to get a Poliwrath powered up and attacking. However, the fact that I have a Sycamore and Poliwhirl and Poliwrath in my hand is not something that I want at all. Kind of hoping for an N or something like that. I would like to... Well, there's the Poliwag. I was about to say I would like to get a Poliwag this turn, but if not, it's not a huge deal. Let's go ahead and Trainer's Mail, grab the Dive Ball. I think I'm just going to Sycamore away my hand. I don't want to, but it's something that I need to do, and then grab the Manaphy to get the free retreat on my Remoraid, and then play the Manaphy down, go ahead and Rough Seas, and then Sycamore away the Poliwrath and Poliwhirl. Not something I wanted to do again, but it's something that I kind of had to do. And then I'm going to play the energy onto the Remoraid, I think. Actually, play it onto the Poliwag and play another Remoraid down. I know that seems weird, but if my opponent manages to pull like a Giovanni's Scheme plus Aero Blitz this turn, then I'm just kind of screwed. So hoping for a Dive Ball right now. That way I can Rare Candy immediately into a Poliwrath. Although I would kind of like the ability to get something else as well, like get my Octillery, get my Remoraid out of the active spot. And my opponent does start with a Talonflame. That is great for him. Gonna just grab a bunch of that line with the Winona, and they haven't played an Energy yet. They have countered my Rough Seas, which isn't a big deal. I mean, it can hurt a little bit. I do just want to take out these Talonflames before they can start hurting a lot. And oh, I'm gonna get rid of my other Max Potion. That sucks a lot. But I mean, right now I'm just drawing into a bunch of stuff that I don't want to discard, and I'm unfortunately forced to discard. So okay, we get some pretty good stuff. We get some really good stuff, actually. What I am gonna do is go ahead and play the Level Ball to grab another Poliwag, play that sucker down. I think, actually, do I want to like double Octillery or something like that? Play the regular Water Energy onto the Remoraid, play the Octillery down, go ahead and Dive Ball for... Yeah, you know what? Let's grab another Poliwag. Why the heck not? Let's go ahead and do that. Play that down. I'm really fishing for a Rare Candy at this point. I'm 100% fishing for a Rare Candy. And then let's go ahead and Escape Rope into... So Fletching will get knocked out by a Dashing Punch no matter what. So right now I'm just trying to maximize my chances of drawing a Rare Candy. That way I can take a knockout immediately, and then hopefully be in a position where I can get another Poliwrath up for next turn. That way I can just completely switch between the two and just Dashing Punch back and forth. And okay, let's Abyssal Hand, get 4 cards, see if it's something we can work with, and indeed it is. So that's even better because I get a Level Ball for a Poliwhirl for next turn too. And yeah, let's just go ahead and Dashing Punch, actually. Only do 50, keep in mind, because even though my Poliwag was on the bench, when I evolved into a Poliwrath, that meant that Poliwrath was in the active spot this entire turn. So even though my Poliwag was on the bench and brought active, Poliwrath was not on the bench and brought active, so it only did 50. That was still enough to knock out the Fletchling, so I wasn't worried about it. but that's something that you should keep in mind if you are playing this deck, that even if your Poliwag or Poliwhirl was on the bench, if the Poliwrath was not when it became active, if the Poliwrath was not evolved onto the bench and then became active, that will not enhance Dashing Punch. It will only do the 50 damage right there, and we do knock out the Fletchling, so we're going to be able to take a prize, get a VS Seeker off, so that is great for us. And I mean, my opponent's just going to go back into Talonflame. He didn't draw any energy off, or he didn't attach any energy. I don't know what he drew, but he didn't attach any energy, so that tells me that he must not have had that good of a hand. And yeah, we are just going to go ahead and take that first game against Talonflame, and I'm assuming Talonflame break based on the fire typing. So, I mean, it was a really quick game, but it shows you how this deck is supposed to work. And yeah, so that's it for the Manaphy version. If that's how you view a budget, then go ahead and use this deck. Heck, even if you don't need it as a budget deck, this is still a very cool variant of the deck to use. And I actually encourage running the Manaphy over the Zoroark version. I'm just showing you the Zoroark version so that those of you without access to EXs can still run this deck and run it pretty solidly, in my opinion. So yeah, done rambling. Let's just go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have found one with the Zoroark version of this deck against a CKR or CKWR. I don't even know. It was just a bunch of letters. I wonder if it means anything or if my opponent just kind of slammed their hand on the keyboard and was like, yep, that's my username. I mean, it could stand for something, and if it does, I apologize. But we do lose the coin flip again, so I don't think we're going to be able to go first. Yeah, my opponent is able to go first. And we are going to mulligan. It looks like we're up against a Garchomp deck, so this could actually be a really interesting matchup, and we're going to mulligan again. Oh, man. So, well, at least they're mulliganing again, so we don't have to worry about it too much. And, okay, come on. Wow. Okay. Mulligan 3 times with a deck that I run I run a pretty solid amount of basic Pokemon. I mean, I run 2 Zorua, 2 Remoraid, and 4 Poliwraths. I mean, that's 8. That's like half of... That's a little bit less than half of all my Pokemon, but I mean, that's still half, like right around half of my Pokemon. I'm running a good amount of basics. I mean, mulliganing 3 times is like usually the edge of what you will mulligan. So yeah, we're just gonna have to mulligan again. I mean, the fact that I drew 2 Octillery immediately was just kind of like a, well, okay, that's fine. But yeah, let's hopefully we start with a Poliwag or something. And wow, okay, four mulligans. Let's see, can we go for 5? Yes, we can. All right, this is phenomenal. All right, 6 mulligans, unless I'm counting wrong. I don't know. I could be counting wrong. And okay, I finally just start with a Poliwag and nothing else particularly useful. That's great. Oh boy. Well, my opponent's going to get a bunch of extra cards, and he's going to be able to go first. I mean, if we had won the coin flip, then I don't think it would matter too much because we could just end my opponent down, and then he wouldn't be able to use those cards. So yeah, 6 mulligans. My opponent gets 4 extra cards, and if he doesn't get perfectly set up, then that's just unfortunate. But yeah, wow, my opponent has a... Well, he had... I think it's an 11-card hand. Yeah, because you drew 7, played 1, drew 4, drew another one. So, opponent had an 11-card hand to start. We are off to a phenomenal start with this deck. And honestly, I'm just hoping that he can't get too ridiculously set up because this should be a good match. I mean, we have 2 Stage 2 decks going at it, and if I can manage to... Well, because Garchomp can't knock me out in 1 hit. He cannot knock out my Poliwraths in 1 hit, and I think the Max Potion will... determine the game. Because if my opponent just starts hitting me, and he doesn't run Max Potion, and I run Max Potion, I'm continually able to just hit those whatchamacallits. Yeah, the whatchamacallits, that's great. If I'm able to just continually hit those Garchomps for damage, then that should be fine. What I am going to do is go ahead and Ultra Ball for my Zorua, play a Float Stone down onto that, play a Water Energy onto my Poliwag, and then go ahead and end. I mean, my opponent just might have a Garchomp in hand. That's why he decided to Wally into the Gabite. But either way, he had 6 cards. I can't rely on my opponent not having something. And then what I am just going to go ahead and do is grab another Poliwag and... Could retreat, but I mean, that really wouldn't do anything at all, and then end the turn right there. If my opponent has a Garchomp, he will be able to knock out my Poliwag this turn, which would be very unfortunate. Yep, so he will be able to knock it out with a Turbo Assault, and I mean, this is just kind of like a, well, okay, because right now everything is going against us. My opponent getting a turn 2 Garchomp with a strong energy onto it, us going second, my opponent getting an 11 card starting hand because of because of us mulliganing 6 times with this deck, which I still insist is a little bit ridiculous, especially the fact that we are running 2 extra lines of Pokemon in addition to the whole, well, in addition to 4 of the Poliwags. I mean, my opponent, I can understand him mulliganing a bunch because I'm wondering what else he's using, because, I mean, we obviously see the Gabite in the Garchomp line, but he also seems to be running Psychic Pokemon, so I'm wondering what else he could be running, and why did he just Ultra Ball and get rid of a Level Ball? Oh, he must have a rare candy in his hand. So my opponent, wow, that's, oh my gosh. Well, he has the Skyless, so my opponent is going to have 2 Garchomps up turn 2, so yeah, this is kind of ridiculous at this point. Getting everything they could possibly want. And meanwhile, wow, even 2 strong energies onto the Garchomp, so jeez, this is bad. This is really bad. So yeah, he's going to take a prize. Go ahead. I'm going to have to play my Zoroark. And wow. Okay, so let's go ahead and Rough Seas. And going to have to discard yet another line because I couldn't draw what I needed. And okay, so we can start working with this. We can start because my opponent will not be able to knock out my Poliwrath in one hit. What I am just going to do is grab... Do I want the Ultra Ball or the Max Potion? See, I don't want to discard anything, but I think I'm just going to grab the Ultra Ball. Go ahead and Trainer's Mail again, see what else I can get. Oh, I get the same type of stuff. Okay. Well, okay. I'm just going to grab that. I think Ultra Ball... Yeah, I want to Ultra Ball, get rid of the Rough Seas and the Giovanni Scheme. Grab another Poliwag. I just need as many attackers as possible. Play that down. Go ahead and evolve Zoroark into Zoroark. Then retreat into my Poliwrath and hit for 100 damage with Dashing Punch. So finally we're able to get set up, and I'm really hoping my opponent just doesn't have anything. So we are able to we're able to start catching up somewhat. And never mind, I forgot my opponent had the N. So we will draw into 5 cards, get a brand new hand. I mean, we get 6, so that's not horrible, but okay. Well, this is interesting. I would like to have access to a Poliwrath. That way I can just rare candy into my Poliwag on the bench and go from there. And okay, so my opponent does just hit me for 120. That's fine. I really would like my Super Rod right now. Let's go ahead and do that, and then... Do I want to go ahead and Rough Seas? Yeah, I mean, like, I don't have any reason not to Rough Seas. I think I'm just going to go ahead and play the Max Potion, and okay. I clicked Rough Seas. There we go. Okay, heal the damage. Awesome. And then I'm just going to Max Potion, get the Poliwrath, completely healed, discard the energy. It's not a big deal because all I need is 1 more. And then I hate to have to discard yet another thing that can get me a Poliwrath immediately, but unfortunately I have to because I'm just not drawing anything at all. And alright, let's go ahead and... I didn't draw into an energy. Wow. Okay. So I mean, yeah, this is a... I mean, I know you guys don't like it when I complain, but I mean, this is just kind of ridiculous that I am having really just horrible draws this entire game. I am just going to go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Sycamore and the Pokemon Ranger to grab the Artillery. Yeah, I have 4 energy left in the deck, and unfortunately can't evolve. Wish I could, and then I am just going to go ahead and stand in, and then retreat. I don't want Zoroark to be active. I mean, I know this did absolutely nothing, but I mean, I just kind of wanted to stand in, and ugh, that's frustrating. So wasn't able to draw into a single water energy. I mean, there's 2 in the discard pile, so out of a 13 card deck, 4 of the cards are water energy, so one would think that I would have been able to draw into it with Sycamore, but I've just gone through so many resources because of how poorly I've drawn. I mean, I'm down to a 13 card deck, and honestly at this point, decking out is a very real option for my opponent. I haven't taken a single prize yet. I'm going to need to draw into more just to have the resources available to attack, and my opponent is just going to bite off, do some solid damage, and there's the water energy. Where were you last turn when I could have taken a knockout? Let's go ahead and evolve into Poliwhirl, evolve into an Octillery, and then Abyssal Hand. Well, first off, let's Rough Seas. That way I don't have to waste a max potion. And then Abyssal Hand. Now I'm down to a 7-card deck, and I'm just getting all the water energy I could possibly ever want. Jeez. So, yeah, just unfortunate drawing order. This does happen quite a bit. Well, I mean, this doesn't happen quite a bit, I should say. It does happen with these type of decks, is what I'm trying to say. But either way, let's just go ahead, stand in, retreat into my Poliwrath. Play another Zorua down, maybe? Do I want to play another Zorua down? Yeah, let's go ahead just in case my opponent can Lysander in my Zoroark. That way all I would need is the Float Stone to have another Zoroark up and ready to go. And honestly, I'm just kind of hoping my opponent doesn't have the stuff he needs. Although, I mean, with the way he's been able to draw, he's been able to get anything he wants every single time. Meanwhile, I'm forced to Sycamore away a bunch of rare candies and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. It does happen. Doesn't make it any less fortunate. Well, any less unfortunate. But yeah, my opponent is just going to go ahead and grab a Gabite. I have enough damage on both of the Garchomps to where I'm going to knock them out, even with a non-boosted Spiral Punch or Spinning Punch, whatever it was. Swirling Punch, I think it probably was. And, okay, so my opponent, I think this might be, oh, never mind, he has a VS Seeker for a Sycamore more than likely, or a he has a Lysander, crap. Well, he's going to be able to knock out my Zoroark, which destroys a lot of this strategy. And once again, he was able to get exactly what he wanted when he wanted it. So I'm just going to kind of cry at this point. I do have another Zoroark. I just need the Float Stone. I just need the other Float Stone that I run. Let's hope I can somehow have access to it. I have 2 Poliwraths powered up, so all I need is that Float Stone. Let's just grab the Level Ball. Go ahead and see what's in the deck. Okay, so the Float Stone is prized. Yeah, let's just go ahead and grab the Octillery, maybe. Nah, let's not grab that. And then I mean, as long as I can draw into a switch at some point, I'll be fine. I know that the switch is somewhere in the deck. I have a 3rd Poliwrath that I'm going to be able to get powered up. Rough Seas off the damage on that one. And then I'll be able to take... Oh, not Swirling Punch. What was I saying? Dashing Punch. Wow, I was way off. I am going to be able to take a knockout on the Garchomp, and I draw into a Sycamore. Don't draw into what I need, so that's unfortunate. But what I can do, I mean, I have 3 Poliwraths powered up. Like, that's not a problem. And, oh, we have a Banette. Oh, boy. Well, even if I do get a Float Stone onto my Zoroark, it probably, once my opponent gets their Banette up, we won't be able to activate the Float Stone anyway. So this is another instance where I think where the Manaphy version is just better. It is a lot less clunky. All you need is a Manaphy plus the Poliwrath line. And you're going to run what am I saying? You're going to run I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. You're going to run Water Energy anyway to be able to attack. So Manaphy's going to give you that free retreat without an item or anything like that. And Garbodor shuts down both decks anyway because of Stand-In and Aqua Tube both being shut down with Garbotoxins. So, I mean, that's just something to think about. My opponent even gets to Scorched Earth, so I can't heal up my Poliwrath at all. And honestly, I'm down to 4 cards. I don't think there is a single way I can win this unless I get... So, okay. I need the switch right now. Unless my opponent leaves his Garchomp active and to take the hit, which he might just to get the damage off on my Poliwhirl. Or not Poliwhirl, Poliwrath. I've been confusing those guys literally all game, so I apologize for that. My opponent is just going to go ahead and Ultra Ball. Get rid of another Level Ball. Does he have another, like, Garchomp plus Rare Candy? Oh my gosh, my opponent has yet another Garchomp plus Rare Candy. Oh, you've got to be kidding me at this point. Jeez, that's ridiculous. That is horribly frustrating, and all 4 strong energy in play 2, not a single one was prized. Wow. I mean, honestly, there's nothing I can do about that at all. If my... Jeez. I mean, like this... We're keeping pace with a Garchomp deck. You know what? I'm going to look positive on this. I'm going to look at this in a positive way. We are managing to keep pace with a Garchomp deck that is drawing literally everything it could possibly want while we are running through resources like it's going out of style. So, you know what? I'm looking at this positively. We are able to keep pace with a deck that, for a while, was relatively top tier. I know it lost a ton with Karina, and that hurt a lot. And that really, actually, not only hurt a lot, it just kind of killed the viability of this deck altogether. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think this deck could be a cool rogue deck, especially with all the EXs running rampant in the meta nowadays. But I do think that this deck did lose quite a bit with Karina, and it lost its engine. It also lost Hawlucha. I'm drawing into another water energy, so why couldn't I draw into one when I needed it back a couple turns ago? But you know what? I mean, I'm thinking positive. Please get like something. Okay, Trainer's Mail. I can get the Switch. So I have a 50% chance of getting the Switch, which could get me access to something that I can prevent decking out. So, I mean, I have a 50% not chance. I have a 50% chance or shot. I think I was halfway between saying that. I have a 50% shot of being able to stay in this game and not just get, you know, decked out and stuff like that. I have a VS Seeker. I need that for an N. If I can get an N, I have a chance off of the prizes. If I get a Switch and then I draw my VS Seeker off the prizes, I have a chance to stay in this game. But otherwise, I mean, really, okay, I'm looking at this positively. This was still a very, very good match, despite the fact that we weren't able to draw into anything at all. I mean, we drew into absolutely nothing. Yeah, we were able to get 3 Poliwraths going, but in the process, we got rid of our entire deck. And okay, 50% chance, and we still did not get it. I would have been able to take a prize on the Gabite. I would have been able to take a prize on anything that my opponent had because of stand-in. And so, yeah, that's... I mean, I know I'm going to deck out at this point. I'm just going to switch into my Poliwrath, go out in a blaze of glory, dashing punch, knock out the Gabite, see what else I can draw into, see if it was something that would have kept me. And no, it's just another water energy. So, I mean, this is very much just very much one of those things where I did not draw into anything and my opponent drew into everything they could possibly want, and we were still able to make a game out of it. So, Poliwrath, I still think you did very, very well, despite how horribly I drew and how... I mean, this deck obviously is inconsistent because it's revolving around a stage 2, and so you need the rare candy. And if you draw into those at the wrong times like I did in this match, you're just going to have to discard a bunch of resources and you end up running yourself out. So still a very, very good match, Poliwrath. You did an excellent job, and if you guys are looking for a budget deck that can be very effective in the right situations, then this is the deck for you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.